Hello and welcome to the Healthy Living Doesn't Have to Suck podcast. My name is Melyssa Allen, and I'm a double board certified lifestyle medicine coach who's dedicated to helping people drop the struggle around creating a healthy lifestyle that lasts. Join me for solo episodes and casual conversations with guest experts in the industry to discuss creating mindset and behavior changes that help you say hello to healthy living made easy, enjoyable, and empowering. What up, change makers? Oh, it's so good to be back. I know we took a little bit of a break, not really expected, but that's just the way that life happens sometimes. And we're wrapping up season 2, which is kind of crazy. We've got this week's episode, another guest episode next week, and then I'm going to do a closeout for season 2 because the podcast is going to be on pause while I record the Healthy Living Doesn't Have to Suck audiobook. And I am so freaking pumped for it, y'all. It's long overdue. I know you've been asking for it, and I cannot wait to bring it to you. So that's going to be exciting. If you're interested, I am going to make a group coaching program out of it. Thought it could be fun to do like a book club. So if you do have a hard copy of the book, you're also welcome to join. But I'm just saying, if you want the first listen to the book, the audiobook, then don't miss out on that. So make sure that you're on my email list because more information will be coming out about that. And I'll give more details in the season 2 wrap-up episode coming at you in a few weeks. But for now, I'm excited to share this conversation with Ashantis Jones. She is just all things light and positivity and self-love. And we really get into some great conversation around body image and movement and just ways that we can empower ourselves to love ourselves a bit more, because who doesn't need more self-love? That being said, I know my shirt says be kind. That also means be kind to yourself. Big message in this conversation. And just as a friendly reminder, although Ashantis is a mental health counselor, this conversation is only for educational purposes. We are not your healthcare providers. So just wanted to throw in that quick disclaimer here. And, talking about mental health, if you ever find yourself in crisis, always remember that you have the Crisis Lifeline number at 988 if you're within the United States. So there are resources and help available to you. Mental health, baby, we are all about it. And it's never a weakness to ask for help. It's actually a strength. So remember that you're not alone. All right. All that being said, I'm not going to drone on any longer. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, welcome back, Changemakers. I am so excited to welcome special guest Ashantis with us today. She is going to tell us all good things about movement, our bodies, and just ways that we can love ourselves a bit better. So I am really excited to dive into this conversation. Her and I actually just connected over social media. So shout out to Rebecca Stewart, who was the one who tagged me in one of her posts to have her on the podcast. So Ashantis, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Can you share a little bit about yourself with us so our listeners can get to know you better?
Yes. So my name is Ashantis. I use both she and they pronouns. And I am a therapist, mental health coach, group fitness instructor, and personal trainer. But above all of those things, I really see myself as an educator because I think that is really the foundation of all of those different careers. And I really try to integrate what I know from being a clinically trained therapist with being a trained fitness professional to support folks in their body image issues. Because one of the things that I specialize in as a therapist and mental health coach is body image issues or eating disorder recovery. Mm-hmm. And going through my own ED recovery process, I realized how integrated the process really was amongst needing a therapist to talk about the trauma and emotions, needing a dietitian to support the nutrition aspects and help folks maybe, not necessarily be fearful of the food that they were before, or integrate new things into their diet that they thought like never could taste good, but also now can be something they crave. And then a fitness professional support that movement side, which unfortunately often gets utilized in a way that is promoting shame, versus being able to really be the support that our body just needs and in some ways craves, depending on who we are. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
I love that so much. There's quite a bit of crossover that you and I have between being trained, as a therapist / counselor, that being in the fitness world and really marrying the two together, which often gets overlooked. Like, I'm not sure if this happened in your training, but people were always really surprised when I was like, yeah, like I love the clinical world and I also love the fitness world. And there's so much overlap and interconnectedness. And they're like, what? It's like
Yeah.
people see them in silos and it's like, no, they're so interconnected.
Yes, absolutely agree. And I think particularly my time in teaching group fitness has taught me that, because I don't talk to everyone, at the beginning of us working together and do a consultation and all of that, right? Like most of the time, folks are coming into my class and we've possibly never met before. And highly likely we have not met before. And yet for this next 30, 45, 60 minutes, they're trusting me with leading them through this workout. And so often I've found people come up after and be like, wow, this like felt different than a regular fitness class, because like you encouraged us to do things based off of like what we were feeling in the moment. And you gave us different variations if we wanted to challenge ourselves versus if we needed to like maybe take it down a notch. You allow us to explore and play a little bit. And like, I'm not, oh, you're not doing the exact combo I told you to do. How dare you? No, like I will have people, we'll be doing a bicep curl and squat, combo situation. And then somebody will be like, oh, let me just throw a tricep kickback in there. If that's what you want to do, I'm cool with that. That's what your body's telling you to do. Go off. Just make sure you have good form. Because we don't want to open ourselves up for injury. Yes. But like, there is so much interconnectedness between the two. And I think when you take the weight loss, which is the predominant ideology behind like why we exercise and why we move our bodies, when you take that away and you look at all the other benefits, so many of them are mental health benefits.
Yes. Yes.
Hello, there's a question.
So true. And even with you being a personal trainer too, one of the things that I had an aha moment with was how similar it is in like the progression of working with someone. Like you have that initial intake and consultation, and from there you come up with the treatment plan and you measure your results over time. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy how these are they're viewed as two completely separate worlds, but there really is so much alignment between the two. And I love that you're really bringing that into your classes as well and helping people to change their relationship to themselves and their movement. So I would love to kind of move that into our educate section of the podcast. Like, what is something that you love sharing with people and that you want people who are listening to this podcast to walk away with knowing?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think one of the most fundamental things that I found in my own journey and, now as a provider have found as other people go through their own like health journeys, if you will, is that at the end of the day, the only person who actually should be, or we should keep in mind judgment from, is ourselves. And that when we allow external thoughts or feelings to really control us, that we're doing a disservice to ourselves. And so it's so important to sometimes sit back and think, what do I actually like. Maybe you were taught to run and that was like the most, important form of exercise. But then when you sat down and you thought about it, you were like, I really was only running because so and so told me to run when I was like 17 and then I just kept doing it. But like, actually, I don't like running. Actually, I would prefer to be doing taekwondo, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Remember to live for your own personal, not just like external expectations. Because the reality is that like when we bring in those external expectations, then we actually are kind of going against social determinants of health, which I guess is truly the piece of education here. And that social determinants of health have so much more to do with why we may look a certain way or why our body may be built a certain way, what we may be predisposed to or not. That is where that's mostly coming from, not from the things that we have done to ourselves as individuals.
Yes, there's so much power to that too, because I think people will have set in their minds that like either their genetics are like set in stone and that they feel helpless around it. And it's like, no, there's other factors that contribute to our health and our well-being, and that we do have some extent of control over, and moving our bodies is one of them, because I know that we're living in a society that's more sedentary than ever. And we've talked a little bit or touched on, the mental health benefits of physical activity. And we might be missing out on those the more that we sit, in addition to those physical health benefits as well. So I think that's something really important to bring up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I mean, I think that folks forget that there was a time in our lives where, marketing didn't exist yet. And because marketing didn't exist as a industry, career, etc., we were using our bodies every day at work. And it wasn't really until marketing became a thing that we started to get more of these office jobs and these jobs where, to your point, we're sitting all day. And now that I feel like we've become like workaholics, if you will, more than ever, people aren't even just sitting for the 8 hours. People are sitting for 14 hours because they are being expected to work overtime and get all of these things done and get it done quickly, and everything is urgent. And that stress from work and the sitting from work, that is usually most people's problem, not necessarily always what you're eating or the movement that you're doing possibly outside. It's your job.
Yeah.
It's your job.
That's a big piece of the puzzle that I think a lot of people either ignore or they're not willing to look at. But it's so true that stress just contributes to all kinds of not so fun things regarding our mental, physical, and emotional health. And social health. We could throw that one in there, because I know when I'm stressed, I am not a pleasant person to be around. So it impacts your relationships, like all of that coming together. Yes, absolutely. And when you find that, people are coming to your classes and they're sharing with you like that felt so good, that was so different from other classes, what are some of the ways that you empower your group fitness participants, your personal training clients, your therapy clients? Like, what are some of the ways that you incorporate empowerment into your approach?
Yes. Okay. So I think the first thing is like always reminding people they have options, because I think so often people think like they own, like this is the only way to do it. And if I'm not able to attain it this way, then it's not the right way. So whether it's a group fitness class, a personal training client, a therapy client, a coaching client, we have options. I'm never going to just give you one thing. We could do this or we could do that. We could do this and we could do that. Because also, sometimes you don't need to pick one or the other. I think a plank is a great example of this from the fitness standpoint, right? You can start your plank on the knees and then choose to move to being on the toes. You can start your plank on the toes and choose to move it to the knees. Both are still planks.
Yeah. You can have it inclined. It's still a plank.
It's still a plank.
Yes.
It's still a plank. It's still your body holding its entire weight up in a way that hopefully, if our form is correct, is not, further harming us. And it's
Yes.
actually helping us strengthen our core so that, for Chicagoans, especially when it's winter, so you're not busting your butt when the sidewalk becomes a slip and slide.
Yeah, we don't have that problem here in Florida.
Yeah, it's a problem up here. But that's so often I'm like, that's what we're training core for. We're not training core so you can look a certain way. We're training core so you can carry your groceries. We're training core so that when you need to go to the airport, you can pick your suitcase up and you can walk it up the entire flight of stairs to the train.
Say it again louder for the people in the back. Like, that's so important. Like, it's not, sure, you could, maybe shed some pounds or lose some inches, and that's like a nice side effect maybe, but it shouldn't be your sole focus on why you're moving your body, because that's where so many clients can get discouraged on, like they're doing everything right and they're not seeing those results. And it's like, no, that's not what you should be focusing on. That's one aspect that you can choose to focus on. But I think, like you said, bringing that and into it is so beautiful, because that can be one component. And you can also think about that future version of yourself that's going to benefit from just functioning in everyday life because you're investing that time and energy now.
Yes. And I think, sometimes clients will be like, I don't know if I'm seeing progress. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And oftentimes it's because they maybe are not noticing a different way in their body looking. And so I'm like, okay, your body didn't change on the outside, on the visual, but on the inside, when you've gone from picking up a 2-pound weight to a 50-pound weight, the muscles inside of your body, even if you can't see it, that means they are stronger. Because there was a point where when we gave you that 50-pound weight, you simply couldn't lift it. And now you can. And I think it's important to remind people that because we do not have 100% control, it's possible your body doesn't change.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because it doesn't necessarily always need to. It doesn't need to shrink just in order for, these things to be working, for you to be able to be progressing. Sometimes it will. Yeah. And sometimes it won't. And as a trainer, I kind of tell people, like, my odds of being able to tell you whether or not it'll happen for you are quite low, because I don't know.
Yeah, we can't predict the future.
But what I can tell you is you will get stronger.
Yeah. And that I feel is something, when it comes to progress around any kind of lifestyle change journey in particular, people are so quick to discount the small bits of progress that they're making. Like, they may have gone to the gym 3 out of the 4 days that they had in their goal, and they're like, but I didn't reach my goal. I didn't get there 4 days. Like, yeah, but you went 3 more than you would have if you didn't set that goal in the first place. So I know you're familiar with all the fun cognitive distortions that we get to work people through, but that's why in chapter 2 of Healthy Living Doesn't Have to Suck, I had a whole chapter dedicated to mindset, because we really do have to help people see that there's a different way that we can look at this process. There's a way that we can kind of unlearn all of those things that have been ingrained in us from society, from marketing, from all of the toxic messaging that's out there, and learn how to embrace a new and more enjoyable way, I think, of doing this whole damn thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that unlearning piece is something I'm consistently speaking to all of my clients about, no matter what type of provider I am for them. We are unlearning things that were taught to you and that you have likely probably also used as a safety mechanism to some degree. And so we're unlearning the fact that, like, one, it wasn't in alignment to you, because that's the only reason we would really need to go through that unlearning process, is because you've decided it's not in alignment with who you are. And so we're taking that away. And we have to also put something back in its place.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? We can't just like unlearn and then not put something else back there, because like there's a reason the links were made in the first place. Something was supposed to go in that spot. So I think especially in regards to something like movement, it's like we're unlearning that movement is simply a punishment, or movement is simply a means to burn calories, or movement is a means to shrink the body. And we're redoing and saying, I am practicing my lunges because when my 3-year-old decides to dart up and run down the street, I need to be able to also dart up and run down the street. I am practicing my military press because so often I am by myself and need to get maybe heavier things from above my head to the floor without everything toppling on top of me. I am working on my sumos because I need to be able to pick up my 80-pound dog. Like,
yep.
So like it's you have to do both, because if you don't put something back in there, then it becomes, well, what's the point? Why am I doing it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so true. I love it.
Yeah.
So if people are listening to this and they're, you know, a little bit more inspired and encouraged around like, okay, like I feel like I can finally get back to moving in a way that I enjoy and I want to start exploring some things, what would be some of the first steps that you would encourage them to take in like engaging what we're talking about in this episode today?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I definitely think step one is just like sort of going through I like this, I don't like this, you know, sort of similarly to when you clean out your closet. And like at some point you thought that shirt was in style, but in this moment, I can't believe I ever purchased it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's sort
Been
of
there.
similar. At some point, you know, you maybe gave kickboxing a try, but it was when you were looking at kickboxing in this really unhealthy way. And now we're looking to see, do I like kickboxing now that like those pieces of mindset are not a part of it? You may find you do. You may find you don't. And if we don't like the kickboxing, the beauty of fitness is there's a bajillion and 5 different formats you can choose from, right? And there's so many different instructors even within those formats. So I just try. It's a little like throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks situation, but try a bunch of different things, see what you like, and don't be afraid for it to be a fun experience too. Because I think so often we're like, well, if it wasn't like sweat through all my clothes, I can barely stand, my legs are shaking, I threw up in the middle of it, then it's not really fitness. Who said that?
I know.
Who said that? Because when we look at the way that the body actually functions, the body never said that.
Right.
So if you decide that form of cardio that you like is a dance cardio class because you like feeling like you're the main character in a music video.
Oh, yeah.
That is still a cardio class.
Yep.
If you decide that you really like doing a strength training class, but you would prefer to do it with other people who have bodies like yours, there's probably a community for you.
Yes.
You know, so like explore, see who's out there, because I know there are so many more, I would say, like weight inclusive fitness instructors than myself. There are other weight inclusive personal trainers than myself. There are other weight inclusive therapists outside of myself. So it's not just finding the people who have those like titles or, you know, characteristics, but then also seeing who's the best fit for you. Because you deserve individual care. Even if you're not necessarily always getting it in a one-on-one setting, you still deserve some form of individualized care. And you can get that.
Yes. Oh, that's so true, because I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to therapy, because that's a lot more stigmatized than like going and seeing a personal trainer. Everyone congratulates you on getting a personal trainer, but when you say that you're going to see a therapist, they're like, "Ooh, oh, what's wrong with you?" Like, it's just the
Really?
discrepancy is unreal. But
Yeah.
hey, it's the world we live in right now, and I always tell people, with seeking out a therapist, a coach, counselor, anything like that, try to see if you can get even just that 15-minute consultation to see, like, do you vibe with this person? Because if you don't, it doesn't matter what kind of therapeutic modality they choose, you're not going to get the same extent of benefits that you would with someone that you feel comfortable, safe, and secure with. And I think the same could absolutely be said for anyone in the fitness world, like a personal trainer. If you go to like Joe Schmo at the gym and he's like guilting and shaming you for not being able to bicep curl 5-pound weights, like that's not the ideal space for you to be in. And so
No.
along exactly what you said, first of all, it's about getting to know yourself a little bit better too, and allowing yourself that these little emojis, they get me every time. I forget that it updates with that. It's about getting to know yourself again, and truly like what you enjoy, tapping into that versus everything that you've been fed and told into your life. And then also taking that time to explore, like, is this something that I enjoyed? And if it wasn't the first time, is there a new variation that you can try, whether it's format, instructor? So thank you so much for those tips. I think that is something so important for people to hear over and over and over again.
Yes, because I think even when you get to my level, and I say my level, frankly, I'm like, I'm still a child. Like, I'm just about to turn 30 in like 2 weeks. And I
Oh,
still have
happy early
so much
birthday.
more. Thank you. And I have so much more to learn. And so, like, also a reminder that even if you've gone through the process and you feel like you've done the work, that like you may still have to continue to do the work. And in some ways, this stuff is never ending, since we're also being fed like opposing information regularly. But like, no matter really what level you get to, there's always going to be somebody else who probably can support you. And
Yes.
it's okay to also ask for support.
Mm. That's beautiful. And absolutely, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, we've been wrapping up our guest episodes by asking, what does healthy living doesn't have to suck mean to you? Or how do you bring that message into your life and work?
I think I bring that message to my life and work by reminding people that our bodies are already quite smart, they're quite intelligent, and that it's a lot of times easier to go with them than it is against them.
Mm. Gosh, that needs to be like on a bumper sticker somewhere. Like,
Honestly, let me go make that sticker.
slap it on a shirt, put it on a journal. Like, that needs to be tattooed on everybody's body somewhere.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Love that.
Ashantis, this has been such an amazing conversation, and I know our listeners are going to walk away with so much value. So if they're curious to get to know you more and to follow your journey, where are some of the best places that people can connect with you?
Yes, I am on all of the social media. Um, and my handle is I am Ashantis on everything. But I would say
Okay.
that I am primarily the busiest on Instagram and TikTok.
Nice.
And so definitely check those out. But then also get on my email list, because I'm teaching virtual group fitness. I have openings for clients right now, in a couple of different areas. So
Awesome.
get on my email list, go to my website, see how we can work together, see how we can collaborate if you're a provider that's listening, because ultimately my goal is just to be able to like help as many people realize that doing life doesn't have to suck.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So true. I will have all of that linked in the show notes so that way our listeners can find you easily. But Ashantis, thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with us today. This has been such an incredible conversation, and we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. Talk to y'all soon.
All right, change makers, take care until next time. Keep your head up, stay positive, and go kick some ass with your goals. I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. And don't forget to grab your freebie with the wellness wheel at healthylivingdoesn'thavetosuck.com/wellness so you can get started on your changemaker journey today. As always, thanks so much for listening, changemakers. And if you can please remember to head to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review. It will help this podcast reach other changemakers so they can start listening and tuning in each week. As a quick, friendly reminder, the information in these podcasts are always strictly for educational purposes only. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.